Do you know what today is?
Well, I believe it's Wednesday, isn't it?
Well, yes, this is going to air on a Wednesday, but today is, drumroll please, episode 26.
Well, that's pretty cool. I think I see where you're headed with this. Last year, we've been talking about doing a podcast for a couple of years, but last year when we were getting close, we said we will start our podcast by the end of January, and we are committed to putting out an episode every week. And now we've done that for 26 weeks.
That's right. There's 52 weeks in a year, so we are at the halfway mark. We are officially halfway through our first year of podcasting.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Seems like we're pretty committed to keeping our goal.
Speaking of commitments, we're ready to talk about our next subject in our Sailing the Seven Seas of a Successful Marriage.
Well, it starts with a C, and we keep emphasizing it, so it's no big secret at this point. It is commitment.
That's right. Let's do this.
Well, I'm excited to talk about commitment,
Yes.
the fifth C in the seven C's of a successful marriage, sailing the seven C's of a successful marriage. But we do want, for show and tell, we want to talk a little bit more about our Colorado trip.
That's right.
So if
wearing the fancy schmancy Rocky Mountain National Park hoodie,
yes.
the one that saved your life because you're so cold.
Well, okay, I wasn't quite that desperate, but yes, it was cold, and I was going to buy a sweatshirt anyway. So
That's right.
I like this one. Well, if you're just joining us, if you haven't seen the episodes leading up to this, our son and now daughter-in-law got married at the end of June in Colorado where they live. And so that was a great trip to go out there for the wedding. We've talked about that on episodes 24 and 25. In episode 25, we talked a lot about our trip, just Hillary and I, to Rocky Mountain National Park. Mm-hmm. And we had never been, but we love to go to big wild places and have adventures, hike, see the sights, take pictures. And so we talked about how we didn't realize until the last minute that we needed a timed entry pass to get into the park. That was a whole thing. We were able to get in after 2:00 and drive around and see some really cool things. And while we were in there, we also found out that after 6 p.m., you can go anywhere in the park. As long as you have to have an admission pass, but you don't have to have a timed entry pass. After 6 o'clock, you can go anywhere. Mm-hmm. So if you missed that, you might want to go back and check. We saw some pretty cool things, and we had some fun pictures to share about that. But the place that we were really excited to go was in the Bear Lake area. Right. It's one of the most visited areas of Rocky Mountain National Park. We mostly went to Colorado to go to the wedding and to be prepared for that and to spend time with Tim and Tori and our other son, Chris, and his family. And we were prepared for a lot of that stuff. The park thing was like, we're here, we're going, and we didn't really look anything up until the night before.
Right.
And so it was just like...
Normally we would have done more research, but you're right. That wasn't the focus. It was just...
It wasn't.
We'll just go have a fun day in the park. Right.
So when we figured out Bear Lake is like one of the places that is the most popular to go, we wanted to go, but then we couldn't because all of the timed entry passes for the entire day were already sold. And so, but what we didn't realize again until we got there was after 6 p.m. we could go there. So as we were driving around, we tried to time it out so that we got to the entrance of Bear Lake Road right at 6 o'clock. It was about 6:05. And so
we thought we were so smart. We're like, oh, we're going to get there right at 6. We're going to get the most possible time we can get.
Well, we did. And there was a lot of traffic who apparently also, whether they found out that day or knew it ahead of time, they were like, okay, let's go. We want to check out the Bear Lake area. And so we got in line and it moved slow, but it moved. And we had been warned, when you get to the parking area at the Bear Lake Trailhead, you may not even find parking. You should stop at the park and ride and do that. Mm-hmm. Well, that was confusing. It was confusing to me at the time. I was going to do that, and then I started to go the wrong way and realized it and stopped and got back in line with all the cars and just went where everybody else was going. We get to the trailhead where there's a ranger station and bathrooms and parking, limited parking. It's a fair amount of parking, but because so many people want to go there, it seems limited. And we were just in line inching. There's angle parking going in on both sides, and then it comes into like a hairpin turn, and then you got angle parking going all the way back out. And that's the parking lot. Probably 100 or so spaces. I don't know. I'm totally guessing. But we just, and if somebody's leaving and they're backing out, the whole line waits. There's not room for one person to wait and everybody else to go around. It was a very slow process. But once we did the hairpin and came back about a third of the way out, we got a spot. So we were like, oh, this is great.
We're in.
And so we were excited, and we wanted to go to Bear Lake because Bear Lake is a hop, skip, and a jump from the parking lot. It's very close. And what I didn't tell you is I'm a hobby photographer, and my favorite thing to photograph is waterfalls. And so there's a waterfall in this area of the park too. And I hadn't seen any waterfalls, and I hadn't gotten to photograph any waterfalls. I was going to be really disappointed if we went all the way to Colorado, even though we went there for the wedding and for family, if I didn't get a chance to see a waterfall and take at least some photos of a waterfall in Colorado. I was going to be really disappointed.
We all know.
Yeah. Well, now everybody knows. So, but Bear Lake is right there. So we had to just walk in and see it.
Yeah.
And so we did. And it's really, you could see in this picture, it's really a beautiful mountain lake, all the pine trees around. It was a beautiful setting. And then I asked Hillary, well, do you want to hike around the lake? Which was me trying to be a good husband, but it was kind of a trick question because I wanted you to say no.
Oh, I didn't know the answers.
I didn't tell you that until now. But I was afraid because it was late in the day. The mountains, mean the sun sets sooner. Because if you live in Indiana, the sun has to go all the way down before you don't see it anymore. If you live in the mountains, the sun disappears a lot sooner and it gets dark sooner. And we knew that from living in the hills of Tennessee, and these mountains, of course, in Colorado are much bigger. So I was concerned that by the time we got to the waterfall, it was going to be too dark to get good pictures. But my wife said, yeah, it's only a mile around the lake. Let's go. Let's do it. And I tried to be a good husband, and like you saw, I mean, this was the first time I told her that I really
truly shocked.
Wanted her to say no, and we walked around. And so like I said, it's a cool setting. There are cool rocks and plants and flowers and things. Here's a selfie that we took. The best view, though, was from the trailhead. When you first walk in, you see, and this is, well, shoot. I wrote it down, and I think I wrote it on the paper and forgot to write it in my show notes. But that peak there in the middle is, I can't remember the name of it, but that is just kind of a stunning view. And I was trying to use my good camera and get the perfect lighting adjustments on the camera so that I would have, if you know photography, you'll understand this. And if you don't, I'm sorry, but so that the camera records enough information in the dark areas and the light areas that when you post-process it later, you can pull all that out. And the disappointing thing when I got home and got them on the computer and started messing with them was that the pictures turned out pretty good, except the sky. I couldn't pull any detail out of the sky at all. And you'll see in this next picture, there were actually clouds in the sky. You can see them in the reflection of the water.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Which is darker.
Yeah.
But the sky, but that, see, that's what was happening was it was still bright up in the sky, but we're kind of in a canyon
Yeah.
where that lake is, and everything in there is much darker than it looks in the picture. And I think I exposed so well for the dark areas that I overexposed the light areas. And so that's probably enough of the photography jargon if you're not really into that. But I was
Still
a little
beautiful.
I was a little disappointed that I didn't get a better picture. But here's one where I zoomed in on the peak and the levels are a little more balanced. Some of those clouds are all a little bright. That's the best I could do. The other thing that needs to happen is I need to take a class on how to post-process stuff a little bit better. But it was beautiful, and we had a good time hiking around Bear Lake.
It was a fun hike.
It was a fun hike, and then from Bear Lake, it was a mile to Alberta Falls and a mile back, which doesn't seem like that much. And we had looked it up and seen that there's only about 200 feet of elevation change on that hike, which is another thing. If you've never hiked in the mountains, you kind of want to know, because sometimes they'll say, well, hike to this waterfall or this landmark, and it's a beautiful thing. It's worth your time. And then you look a little further and they're like 1,500 feet of elevation change. This is a advanced hike. Don't do this unless you're ready to do some actual rock climbing or whatever. So this one was not that. But here's the thing. If you've never been to Colorado, the altitude, we talked about this a little bit in the wedding episode 24. Excuse me. Nashville is at an elevation of 597 feet above sea level. Denver is the Mile High City because it is exactly 5,280 feet above sea level, which is a mile. It's a mile above sea level. And if you've ever watched, and the place that I really noticed it is Denver Broncos football games. When they play in their home stadium, you'll see visiting players more than normal on the sidelines with oxygen mask, because that altitude is no joke.
Yeah.
And if you train there all the time, you get used to it, but it makes you tired. It can give you a headache. It can dehydrate you because the air is super duper dry.
I'm getting
in
a little
Colorado.
headache just talking about it.
Just
right?
remembering. It was beautiful and fun, but also like you got to take that seriously.
Yeah.
Well, some people can get altitude sickness as early as 2,000 feet above sea level, although for most it's a little higher than that. In our previous episode, we talked about going to the Alpine Visitors Center, which is at 11,796 feet.
That's amazing.
It's crazy. And it's the highest visitor center in the national park system. So that was fun, just to be able to say that we've been up there. I mean, we drove the whole way up there. We didn't climb it, but
Was
that's
their
cool.
other claim to fame was the highest continuously paved road in North America.
It's like the highest paved road that goes somewhere.
Right. As
one-
opposed to Mount Evans.
Right.
That is the highest paved road in North America.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we did that in 2017, which is also not too far outside of Denver, but it's just a road to the top of Mount Evans.
Mm-hmm.
This road goes through the park and to the Alpine Visitors Center and keeps going to other things. And so,
Yeah.
everybody's got to have a claim to fame. So that's theirs.
Right.
Well, I looked it
The
up.
best show on TV that airs on a Tuesday after something. So they like make up their own awards.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the photos.
Well, everybody needs an award, I guess.
I'm going to make up one for me.
That'll be easy. You're good at a lot of stuff.
Okay.
So Bear Lake is at 9,449 feet, which is basically 1.8 miles, excuse me, above sea level.
Yeah.
It's no joke. Just hiking for a mile around the lake, we had to stop 2 or 3 times just to catch our breath and
Yeah.
just the altitude. So
I thought it would be easier than that, but which is why I said yes.
it all worked out. But then we said, okay, now let's go to Alberta Falls. I don't remember what time it was, but I was a little worried that we were going to lose our light, but we took off, and we saw some cool stuff along the way, including this field of ferns in the middle of the woods.
You know I love ferns.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. Usually in the woods you see a few scattered ferns here and there. This was just just full of ferns. They were just solid. It was really beautiful.
It was very picturesque. The worst part when you're taking a picture is you want everything to be perfect, and there's like some dead trees and stuff in there, but it was cool. And then, we kept going. At one point I turned around and took this picture. The sun, is going behind the mountains, and I'm just like, we're not going to have that shelf rock though was cool. It was just
huge,
giant slab of granite. Super cool. And then we eventually came to this narrow gorge. We're trying to get to the waterfall, and we hear the water. You can hear the water in the bottom of this gorge, but there's no way to safely get out to the edge and look down. You couldn't see it. Couldn't see one drop of water, but you could hear it, and you knew that we were getting close. So just to back up for a second, we had hiked for a while, and we came up to a sign, and I thought, oh, this is good. This is going to be encouraging. It's going to tell us we're just a couple tenths of a mile from Alberta Falls. And it said Alberta Falls this way, 6/10 of a mile. We had gone less than a half a mile, and I would have swore that we were almost there. That's what the elevation did to me anyway.
Yeah.
I think it affected me more than it did you, but it was no joke. But we kept going. After the gorge, it was starting to level out, and there's just kind of some normal woodsy type scenes. But eventually we did get to Alberta Falls. It's pretty. It's not the most amazing waterfall I've ever seen, but it was pretty. And I knew that we didn't have a lot of time. What was cool was the area right around the falls was kind of open, and it was letting a lot more light in. So I said, okay, well, that's good. And then I thought, well, the trail just kind of goes beside it and keeps going, and I thought almost everybody's going to get a picture from right here. Whenever I go do this kind of wildlife or wild wilderness adventure and try to get pictures of waterfalls or whatever, I'm looking for where's the angle, where's the shot that not everybody's going to get. I want to get something different. When people see it, they're like, oh, that's a cool angle. And there weren't a lot of options because the trail just kind of went right along the gorge that the water had formed. But there was one place where I could kind of scramble down on the rocks, and I had to be really careful with my equipment. And I thought, okay, most people aren't coming down here to get this perspective. So Hillary likes to get pictures of me while I'm doing the photography. And so there's me down there, and then there's also her with doing a selfie, which is pretty fun.
That's probably going to be my my album that I create. All my selfies of you taking pictures of waterfalls.
Right. I'll do the fine art photos, and you'll do the selfies of, yeah, I like it.
Here's what we were doing.
Well, here is the photo that I got, the best one. And I like to do the long exposure of waterfalls, and it gives the water that really silky look.
This is gorgeous, by the way.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful picture.
Well, that was the payoff.
Yeah. You notice that my selfie face wasn't in this one.
Well, I liked everything that we did that day. I was a little disappointed when you said, let's hike around Bear Lake. But other than that,
let's see, what was episode 1 of our marriage? Communication.
I was trying to be a good husband, but I'm being very transparent now and saying selfishly, I wanted to run right to the waterfall.
Right.
But I wanted to be a good husband and make sure that you got a chance to do what you wanted to do.
Thank you.
And it all worked out because I ended up with a pretty good photo and had plenty of light.
Did you just say pretty good? That was an amazing photo.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
The last crazy part, though, was that then we had to hike a mile back to the parking lot, which I already knew from hiking there.
Was going to feel way more than a mile.
Yeah, it was going to feel like 2 to 3 miles. I was going to hike for 5 miles and find out that we were halfway back or whatever. But it was getting dark. It was getting darker and darker and darker. And so let's just count them up. what are all the ways that could go really wrong?
Oh, the ways that we could die in the woods.
We had
Yeah.
flashlights on our phones. I don't think we were going to fall into a gorge or anything.
Right. We could stay on the path. We could see the path.
But we could have gotten attacked by
Yep.
a bobcat,
Yeah. A grizzly
a
bear,
grizzly bear,
a black bear,
a black bear, a mountain lion,
probably snakes. I don't know if snakes come out at night.
venomous snakes. Well, I
They're
don't.
there.
Yeah, I don't know either, but there's at least
Yeah.
5 ways, real quick. Probably wolf.
Yeah. Bad guys.
What if we ended up with a
Bad guys in the woods.
bull moose on the path
Yeah.
and didn't want to let us through?
I mean, they even had warnings about the mama deer that they had put up, and I was reading some of the warnings, and they just said that they have been a little aggressive. They've been protecting their young. Stay clear. I'm like, I don't even want to meet a mama deer. So
Well, I've heard that deer can really mess you
yeah,
up.
yeah.
You think
I didn't
they're-
want to meet anybody.
They're
on that
pretty,
path.
and mama deer don't even have antlers, but they kick you, man. It's not good.
Yeah.
So we just made a lot of noise. Here I am huffing and puffing, and you
Did a
know
lot
the
of clapping.
altitude and all. I'm just like,
Yeah.
and
Things to-
and at the same time going, "Hey bear."
Hey, bear.
If you ever listen to the Nate Land podcast, you know where we got that.
Yeah.
But we had fun with it, and
Lot
here
of
we
hay
are.
bears.
We made it back, but we got back to the parking lot, and this is a cell phone picture of what it looked like. That's the moon. Mm-hmm. Not a really dark picture with the sun in the sky. So
We were kind of taking bets as to how many cars would possibly be in the, because we didn't meet.
right,
Well, we actually did meet a couple people on the pathway going back.
yeah,
But yeah, we were like, how many cars do you think will even be in there? And I think we nailed it right around 15
yeah.
out of 100. So
Mm-hmm.
we weren't totally alone, but we were
No,
in the dark.
but there weren't a lot of people left in that part of the park
Yeah.
at that point, and so it was 9:20 p.m. when we got back in our car.
Okay.
And then last episode, I kind of had an imaginary map of the park here. So we had gone from Golden up around the park, Estes Park, and then this way up to the Alpine Visitor Center, then back into the interior of the park to Bear Lake and Alberta Falls. And then from there, we had to drive out, lots of curvy roads and slow driving conditions. Got back to Estes Park, and we took a different road, but still all the way back, it took us almost 2 full hours. And
Yeah.
when we came out at 9:20, we were exhausted.
Yeah.
I mean, we were done because it had been a long day and that high altitude hiking.
Plus, we thought we were going to get eaten by a bear.
So anyway, it was quite the adventure, and we made it back safe, and we had a great rest of our trip.
Yeah.
We're going to cover one more portion of our trip next time. It involves a little more hiking and a little more photography, but also a little more family time. So we'll share that with you
Nice.
next episode.
All right, this next photo, again, with the Unity candle, I'm sure you can tell, we are back to our Sailing the Seven Seas of a Successful Marriage. So this photo is from June 6th, 1992, and this was our wedding cake.
Yes, it is.
I don't remember where we got the idea exactly, but we had a wonderful bakery in our hometown in
Yep.
Owasso. And so we went to the bakery and we talked to the baker and we ordered this cake, and we wanted all these pedestal cakes completely frosted with white frosting.
Right.
No color whatsoever. We had a vision, and we wanted to have them decorated with flowers.
Yeah.
We wanted all the colors because I was in white, you were in black. Our wedding party was in white and black,
Right.
and all of the color was going to come from the flowers. Isn't that amazing? That
Yeah.
even then we were just
Well-
really drawn to beautiful flowers and.
We had no idea we were going to end up to be landscapers.
Yeah, but we were so locked in on that theme. But when we sat down with the baker, he was not catching the vision,
No.
and I think we've got another picture here of us actually cutting the cake. So cute. But yeah, we told him
Yep.
what we wanted, and he said, "Oh, all white?" And we're like, "Yeah, we're gonna just do it all white." He said, "Well, what about the piping around the center? Maybe we could put a little color on that?" And we're like, "Nope, we want it all white." And he got a little uncomfortable. He said, what about the roses? There's going to be some flowers on there. Couldn't I make some of the rose? Nope, we want all of those white. Well, how about the leaves? Could I make the leaves a little? This poor gentleman, it was really making him uncomfortable to think he was going to create this and send it out of his bakery just completely, to him, blank.
Well, I think the other part of it was that bakery, that family bakery, had been in town for a lot of years.
Yeah.
And I think it had closed down, unfortunately, and they figured out a way to get it open again. And so he wanted new, fresh work to show people and to say, here's what we can do. And so as an
Right.
artist, I get that. Even with my landscaping, sometimes people want things I'm not crazy about. And I'm like, well, that's not going to look very good in my portfolio. And I think he was looking, here's a wedding. They want me to do the cake. I want to do something beautiful that I can show everybody. Hey, this is the kind of stuff that I can do. And we were saying, make it as plain and vanilla as possible.
Right.
Knowing that the actual flowers, the real flowers, were going to be the decorations on the cake, and that it would be colorful and that it would be beautiful. But his job was to make delicious, plain looking cake, and he wanted to make delicious, colorful looking cake.
Yep.
And that was the conflict. But then what happened at the end of it all?
Yeah, so at the end, he did make it the way we wanted, and we had it delivered, and we got it all decorated. I think we took back pictures to him, and he loved it so much, he started using that as an advertisement for what he could do as far as his cakes.
Partnering with the local florist.
And what was the name of that bakery?
White's Bakery.
See, that's even better.
Just follow your name, bro.
So I loved our cake so much. I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah.
My one piece of advice I've always told people ever since then, because I feel like we cut our cake a little too late. People had already run off to the parade, whatever. And so I just had too much left over. We should have cut it early. Cut your cake early. Get it in. Get people eating.
Yeah,
So-
this is going to sound really counterintuitive and kind of stupid, but it's at least partially true. Your wedding's not about you as much as you think it is. I mean, it is. It's about your marriage. It's about
Right.
your union. And people through the years have always said, especially to the woman, you're the bride. You should have whatever you want. And
Yeah.
to a certain extent, there's something to that. But people are attending your wedding, and they have lives too.
Exactly.
And so, like, what time of day is that expected in your community? And if you have the wedding at that time of day, that you're going to have a full meal or just snacks, or, are there other things going on? We had to move our entire wedding to a different time than what we wanted because it landed on a festival weekend that happens every year, and the parade in that town is such a big deal you wouldn't even believe it. And people literally told us, if you have your wedding at the wrong time, I won't come. I'll be at the parade. Yep. We were really offended, but also we didn't want nobody to come to our wedding.
Right.
And so,
And now, how many years later? 30-some years later, we get it. We're like,
We get it.
They have lives. They have kids.
And
They're
so
trying to
when
make
you're-
everything work.
when you're at the wedding going, well, I really want to be able to sit here and enjoy this meal. Look, bro, your wedding's not about you enjoying the meal. It's really not. It's about you getting married and having a covenant like we talked about last week, and doing that publicly and having all your family and friends celebrate with you. But it's also about putting forth a presentation that makes people comfortable and that they can go, that was a great wedding. I really enjoyed. And so you're going to have food probably of some description, but get the cake going early so the people that went through the line first, they can get their cake, and people aren't sitting around going, if they don't hurry up and cut that cake,
I'm out.
I'm out, man. I mean, these are things you have to think about. So
Yeah.
that's not what this episode's about. That part is thrown in for free.
That was for free. All right. So just to recap,
Yes.
sailing the 7 seas, we had communication, cooperation, compromise, and covenant.
Yes.
All right.
Number 5 is commitment. So the definition of commitment is the state or quality of being dedicated to a cause, activity, etc. Excuse me. I'm committed to getting through this podcast with the rough throat. Something, a statement of commitment that you've probably heard of before is like a certain company has a commitment to quality. We're very committed to quality. So there's an example. Similar to commitment are words like dedication, devotion, allegiance, loyalty, faithfulness, fidelity, bond, adherence, and attentiveness.
I like those words.
Yeah.
I like, especially like devotion. I love
Right.
that. Devotion or allegiance.
It makes sense. So as we were talking about this and preparing for this episode, we knew what we meant by the difference in these words, but and kind of to compare and contrast between last week's word covenant and this week's word of commitment, let's think of it like this. A covenant is the words, ideas, or vows that you say you will keep. So the vows that you recite at your wedding, that's a covenant. The commitment is the discipline inside you that refuses to not keep the covenant. I don't know why I like that so much. That's kind of the negative way to say it. But commitment is the discipline inside you that refuses to not keep the covenant. If you prefer a positive, let's say it like this. Commitment is the discipline that demands you will keep the covenant. So the covenant is the thing, and the commitment is the part inside of you that says, we're sticking to this. We're sticking to the covenant. We're gonna do it.
We are committed.
We will not do this.
Right. Well, and when we started talking about this, it's one thing to make the covenant, and then even to say like we're committed. We're not gonna break this covenant. But if you think about like a New Year's resolution, right? You can be committed and as determined as you want to be, but sometimes that's not enough, right? Just the wanting to. And I started remembering when I was a teacher at preschool, every year we would have safety meetings. And unfortunately, as time went on, over the 10 years that I was there, we had to get more and more serious about our safety meetings, making sure that our drop-off was safe, that our pickup was safe, that that our time on the playground was safe. Everything that we did all day was really geared around keeping those children safe.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, we were having fun and teaching them as well, but one of the
But
things...
if they're not safe, the whole thing's going to fall apart.
Oh, yeah.
And there won't even be a preschool.
Exactly. And so one of the things that I loved was during one of those safety meetings, the person that was doing the presenting said, it's not enough to be able to say, oh, that would never happen here, which is just like, oh, there's such a great school, or it's such a great marriage. Oh, that would never happen.
Right.
But what they said was, we're going to set up safety protocols so that we will be able to say that could never happen here.
Right.
And so some of those safety protocols really just meant, especially for like, just from teachers to students, we made sure that teachers were never alone with a student. And not that we thought we hired bad people, but it protected students and it protected teachers.
Yeah.
Because if you always had two teachers, with the classroom, with the bathroom line, with the playground, there was always someone there to make sure the children were safe.
Yep.
And then also, if there was ever an accusation that was not true that was made, there would be another witness to say, no, I was there, I saw that, that's not what happened. So it was safety.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, it's kind of the same thing for our marriages. It's not enough to say, oh, that would never happen.
Right.
But we were given a book early in our marriage that helped us to set up kind of some safety protocols for us, just to be able to say that could never happen.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the difference between would never and could never, I mean, it's next level.
yeah.
And to live at the could never level, that's hard to say. The could never level,
It could never.
it takes commitment.
Yes.
It takes intentionality. That's the other thing with commitment is it's very intentional,
Yes.
because bad things happen on their own. They just happen. But to keep bad things from happening, that involves a lot of intentionality. That involves me saying, I will do these things. I will not do these things because I've thought about it. And I know that the things that are because the devil is real and he goes after people, and anyone who's doing things that are pleasing to God, he's going to come after you sooner or later. That's what he does. That's his job.
Yeah.
So I want to live in such a way that I am not kind of being in la la land going, oh, bad things will never happen. Bad things will happen. Bad things do happen. Look around. Bad things happen all the time. 50% of marriages end in divorce. So how does that happen? That happens to people who are not building hedges and are not being careful and are not being intentional about protecting the thing that on their wedding day they said was sacred and that they would protect.
Right.
And so that's the commitment part. I'm committed to intentionally preserving this and keeping away the things that would come and tear us down.
Yeah.
So it boils down. One of the main things that I think in marriage is to not be alone with the opposite sex. So I'll be alone with Hillary, but I'm not going to go have lunch with another woman. And if you've never heard that, that may be like, what? But that's for real. Why do you want to go have lunch with your wife's friend? Why? Don't do that. That's a bad idea. Why do you want to go have lunch with somebody that just reached out and said, hey, let's have lunch? Well, I just thought maybe we could talk business. Okay, talk business. Take your business partner with you. Take somebody. Meet on the weekends and take your wife, but don't do it alone. And that's really a red flag if someone of the opposite sex wants to be alone with you. And just really quick, no offense to anyone, but we're assuming that marriage is one man and one woman. In our early episodes, we made no bones about the fact that we believe that the Bible is God's word to us and that it's true, and that's what we're doing. So when we talk about marriage, we're talking about one man, one woman. So that's where we're coming from. So if someone of the opposite sex wants to be alone with you and you're married, that's a red flag. And so you don't want to do that. So you don't want to get in the car and go somewhere with them. You don't want to go out and have a meal with them. You don't want to go to a movie with them. You don't want to just make an appointment to be even in a coffee shop. That's pretty public, but these kinds of things can create emotional ties. Now, I said it's a red flag. This person could be trying to start something with you, something romantically, or maybe they're not really trying to, but something kind of happens anyway. But if you don't go meet alone with people of the opposite sex, guess what? Nothing's going to happen, because how can it? So
Sometimes work makes this difficult.
That is true.
Depending on your job situation. We both have had situations where I've had to, as a realtor, I had men in my car that I just for different reasons, it would have been really difficult for us to go separately.
Yep.
And so there have been situations like that. There have been work situations for you where you've had to step into other people's homes. And so it's not to say that these situations are never, ever going to happen, but we don't go seek them out.
Right.
And if we know that our work is going to create situations like this, again, back to communication, we just make sure, like you would always give me a heads up and just say, hey, this happened today. I showed up. Wow, I was not expecting this person to be dressed this way. I don't know why they answered the door like that. But, but you would tell me.
Right.
And then I would tell you, hey, I'm going to be alone with this person. In fact, sometimes I would tell you, it's from this time to this time. Maybe you want to call and just check in on me.
Right.
And so just communication and making sure that you're just aware of where you are. So.
Yeah. And if you are doing this, I mean, we don't know who all is going to watch this and what stage of marriage you're in, but if you know that these things are good principles to follow and you're trying to do it from the early days on, it's easier to do that than to start it later. Now,
right.
if you're hearing this 20 years in, you probably still need to start it. I understand that it's a little more difficult and could be a little more awkward, especially if you have a spouse that's maybe, for lack of a better word, a little bit paranoid anyway. So it's not that, I'm suspicious of her. She's telling me, I have to do this business thing, but call me around 4:30 and just, then I can tell you what's going on, and I can also use it as an out if I really got to get going or whatever. So there are going to be some things that you may not be able to 100% avoid. If that's the case, keep everything as public as possible. Keep everything as professional as possible. Don't do or say anything that could be interpreted as a flirt. Just don't. Oh, but it's harmless. You know what? Yeah, said every person who got divorced ever. Just don't go there.
Right. And I think just even you're not aware of like how those emotional ties start. And I really do think it's not a matter of if this ever happens. It's a matter of when you're tempted to, oh, wow, they're so kind. They're so nice. And that's going to happen right when your spouse has been mean to you, right?
Spouses can be mean to each other.
And so you just need to be aware.
Yeah.
So can you talk about social media a little bit? Because I know that's we didn't have that. We didn't have any rules for social media. We kind of had to make those up as we went along.
Not when we got married in 1992. We didn't. Yeah. You just have to be super careful. It's kind of the same things that we're talking about, except digitally. If someone reaches out to you that you had a past with, and that maybe they're a weakness for you, or that they have a tendency to be flirtatious, or they say or do something that you think maybe they're trying to reconnect with you or whatever, just nip it in the bud. I mean, if you have to, block them, or just if they, you were talking about a woman who had, wasn't even an old boyfriend, but someone she knew from years back contacted him on social media and said, I'm going to be driving through your area. Would you like to meet for lunch?
Yeah.
And
she was like, this is kind of weird. This is kind of coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, because she was married.
Yeah. And so she responded and said, oh, that would be great to see you again. My husband and I could meet you. He totally ghosted her. I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah.
Uh-huh.
Those were the intentions, because as soon as he knew a husband would be there, he was totally gone.
Just don't open that door, not even a crack.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not. Well, I don't want to be rude. Well, okay. I mean, look, people can date, break up, and be friends. That is a thing. Just be super duper careful. If you have someone that reaches out for some reason and it seems completely innocent, keep it short, keep it professional. Again, don't flirt, don't do anything that could be taken in any way as encouraging any kind of romantic spark or anything like that. And then probably just try not to go there. Like, try not to communicate with that person a lot, because why? Seriously. Why? Sin loves to hide in darkness. Tell the truth and bring sin out into the light where it can be dealt with. So anytime there's something that you think this could go badly, tell your spouse,
Yep.
cut it off from whoever, deal with it early rather than late, and just be committed to the marriage that you're in, and keep those vows, and don't let the door open even a tiny little crack for things to come in that can start to grow something that has no business being there.
That's right. So bottom line, like you said, be committed to protecting your marriage, keeping the covenant vows. I looked up Proverbs 4:23. I love this verse. It says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it.
Yes.
So I think that's it for today.
I do. I think you're right. That's it. So commitment. Covenant is the vows that you say you're going to keep. Commitment is the determination to keep them and to hold sacred that which you said was sacred on your wedding day. You can do it. Stay in there. Well, thank you for joining us. Your time is valuable. We know that, and we appreciate you joining us. We look forward to having you back next week. We're going to talk one more little segment on our Colorado trip that I think you'll enjoy, and we'll be ready for sailing the 7 seas of a successful marriage, word number 6.
All right. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
See ya.